Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. Today, we're going to talk about Cardano and its native token, ADA. If you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and make sure to stake your ADA with the ITC2 stake pool. If you're unsure of how to stake your ADA, I will provide a link in the description below and in the pinned comment to the website staking.intothecryptoverse.com, where you can learn how to stake your ADA if you're unsure of how to do so. Let's go ahead and jump in. So Cardano is on the eve of smart contracts, okay? And this has been a milestone we've been waiting for forever, it seems. And now that we're finally here, we'll get to look around and see, okay, who's going to build on top of Cardano, who's going to actually use the platform. My guess is that it's going to take us a little bit of time to really get the wheels moving on it. I don't think that the minute it launches, we're going to have 100,000 different dApps immediately launch on it. I do think there will probably be some growing pains, but I do think Cardano will come out the other side, and hopefully we'll have a thriving ecosystem as the years pass. Okay. Now, one of the things I would say is that if we can sort of dubiously speculate, right? We like to dubiously speculate around here. Ethereum has been doing really well. And you could argue that one of the reasons it's been doing so well is because a lot of the ETH is getting eaten up on all these different platforms of people that are actually utilizing Ether, NFTs, DeFi. There's just so many various applications right now, so many dApps that people are using for Ether. And arguably that's contributed to the high market capitalization. Cardano does not really have that effect yet. It does not have that same level of network effect. Now, obviously, we hope it can grow into that. None of us, I don't think, are claiming that Cardano's ecosystem is currently bigger than Ethereum's. But I do think that Cardano will grow with time. And I do think that as more utility is actually built out on the platform, that this will have a positive impact on the price. Okay? So when we talk about the valuation of ADA, right now it's coming in at a very modest $2.73. I've told you guys many times before where I generally think ADA should be able to make it this market cycle. My best guess is $8 to $14, somewhere around that area. Could it go below that? It could. Could it overshoot it? It could. I think we'll have to take it one day at a time, 1 week at a time. And obviously remember that it will ultimately depend on what Bitcoin is able to do. And also how long the market cycle will extend. If the cycle ends up being shorter, then it likely won't go as high. If the cycle ends up being longer, then I would argue that it could ultimately go higher because we just have more momentum, more money coming into the space, which should ultimately be able to send the prices higher. Today, ADA is it's in this region where it's more or less been into a long reaccumulation, okay? And I would say that the lower bound on this is around $1, okay? So around $1 tends to be the lower bound area of this reaccumulation range. If I actually draw it at around $1, you can see it around there. That'd more or less be the lower bound on the reaccumulation range. And then the upper bound up until recently was around, 250 or so, okay? Now, we've seen similar moves by Ethereum in the past, these long reaccumulation windows. I think the short-term implications for ADA are obviously going to be dependent on the success, the immediate success of smart contracts, but also, more importantly, I think it will be dependent on Bitcoin. As always, Bitcoin controls the market, it rules the roost. And so if Bitcoin's going back down to the 20-week and just kind of hanging out there for a few weeks, it's going to negatively impact the altcoin market. And if it goes below the 20-week, it's going to definitely negatively impact the altcoin market. If Bitcoin is able to hold the line and continue higher, then I would expect ADA Bitcoin to probably bleed. But ADA, the constellation price again would be that ADAUSD should go up. And then whenever Bitcoin stops moving at that point, then I would imagine that ADAUSD would continue going up and that ADA Bitcoin would go up as well. So I think the main thing to look out for with Bitcoin is just the line in the sand at the bull market support band, which again is the combination of the 20-week estimate, the 21-week EMA. If you're curious where the bull market support band is for ADAUSD, which we have interacted with in the past, we more or less held it as support back in September through November of 2020. Currently, the bull market support band for ADA is trading for a very modest 178 up to 182. So in the event of a pullback by Bitcoin, it'd have to be a pretty substantial pullback. And if we saw ADA drop by $1 or so, that might be an area to watch out for, because we've more or less held it as support here, and we more or less held it as support there with just 1 week or so, 1 or 2 weeks where we actually went below it. I do think that the ADA Ether valuation it remains very interesting, considering how well it's held up so far. Maybe this is sort of like one of these W patterns that some of you traditional TA people like love to talk about. Regardless, I would say that, you know, given the market conditions, ADA has held up extremely well against the US dollar and against Ethereum. And ideally speaking, if you're going to take on more risk, which I would argue that buying ADA is riskier than buying Ethereum, because Ethereum already has smart contracts. We already see the network being built out. With Cardano, you're buying what you think it will become, not what it is today. So then inherently there is more fundamental risk on Cardano. Hopefully it would outperform, right? I mean, because again, if you're going to take on more risk, you should hopefully realize a higher return. If you don't realize a higher return, then why do you take on more risk? Right now, it's been continuing to perform well against Ethereum, and these prior local tops, right, have more or less turned into support for the ADA Ether valuation. For ADA to reach a new all-time high against Ethereum, it would need to rally. Let's not go from the launch wick, but let's go to this one right here. Another 68% move or so. A 68% move by ADA for a constant Ether would actually put it closer to 450. Now, do I anticipate ADA going to 450 this month or next month? Probably not, to be completely honest. But I do think we will eventually make it there. Now, the ADA Bitcoin valuation is actually still holding up relatively well. I speculated a month ago that ADA could do very well going into the release of smart contracts. I think what'll be interesting is to see what happens after we get the launch. Is it going to bleed back down and come back down here and then maybe continue this slow grind up? Or are we going to shoot up straight away? I don't personally think we're going to just shoot up immediately. I think there's going to be a lot of uncertainty right at launch, and we're going to have to prove that you know the network is going to be utilized, and that at that point, once the market realizes that, I think it will instill a lot of confidence into the market. But again, I think the main thing to watch out for, again, as always, is Bitcoin. We can also take a quick look at ETHUSD, because just as a reminder, we've seen these types of moves before with ETHUSD. In that, generally speaking, this had a similar pattern, right? Down and then up. And then we ultimately ended up coming down for a while, and we even dropped below the bull market support band, but we still went up higher eventually. It was about a year of reaccumulation. And then over here, we had a similar pattern, right? Up and then down and then back up and then down, and then ultimately broke up to the upside. And then if you go to today with ETHUSD, we've gone up and then down and then up. And so far it's been back down. I don't really think that it's just going to break out here. I mean, bring it on if it does. I'm ready for it. I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's more likely that we spend a little bit more time sort of playing closer to the 20-week moving average. And these are the same patterns we've seen Ethereum show before, right? A new leg into a new all-time high, get used to the new normal, and then blast off, right? A new leg into the new all-time high, get used to the new normal, and then blast off. Same thing here. And then I'm just sort of dubiously speculating that ADA is on a similar trajectory, right? A new move into an all-time high, and then we're sort of just kind of hanging out at these levels. I don't know if we're going to come back down here or not, but I would say whatever this ends up being, I'm just speculating that it's a long reaccumulation window, and that we will ultimately blast out of it to a new milestone. Okay, that's what I would hope. In the event that Bitcoin fails to hold the 20-week, there's still a good chance that ADA will hold the prior lower bound of this range. Okay, so keep that in mind. Even if Bitcoin does not hold the 20-week, there's still a decent chance that ADA remains within that range. I think that'll wrap it up. If you guys like the content, remember to stake your ADA with the ITC2 stake pool. We'll have a link to that in the description below. Remember to subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up. Thank you guys for tuning in. Click the bell icon to turn on alerts, and I will see you next time. Bye.